about 2 weeks away to the start of the NBA season. We got preseason going on right now. We're starting to get a feel of some of these coaches' rotations, who's going to make these rosters. So today, I wanted to be giving you guys one prediction for every NBA team this season. Some of these predictions could be good predictions. Some of these can be bad. You can let me know what you agree or disagree with for your favorite team down below. Of course, there'll be timestamps in the description if you want to hop to your favorite team to hear what I have to say about them. And also drop a thumbs up if you guys want to see me do some type of preseason overreaction video. I'll probably ask you guys on my community tab or Twitter just to give me an overreaction for your favorite team. We'll do an episode like that this upcoming weekend, so make sure you're subscribed or follow me on Twitter. Link is in the description. Let's get into this. Okay, the first one we're going to do is with the Orlando Magic, and my prediction for them this season, they're going to win over 50 games, which isn't a scorching hot take because right now their preseason projection to win is 50 games for this upcoming season, but I just love this Orlando Magic squad, and I just feel like they're built for the regular season. They have a number one in Paolo Banchero, who's still not even reached the prime of his career. He's going into year number 4, and he does have the potential to be a top 10 player in the NBA this year and can legitimately get MVP votes. If Franz Wagner could just shoot 32% from 3, this guy is going to average 24, 25 points per game. And that's not even me mentioning Franz Wagner's defense. They add Desmond Bane, one of the best 3-point shooters in the league, something they desperately needed going into this year. They haven't had a top 20 offensive rating since 2012. That is definitely going to change this year. Jalen Suggs is healthy again. All 3 centers should be healthy at the start of the season, or at least early on. They have Anthony Black going into year number 3, Tristan Da Silva in year number 2. They drafted Jace Richardson, signed Tyus Jones. I love this Orlando Magic team, and I think they're going to win 50 games for sure, unless they have the season from hell like last year with all the injuries. So as long as they can stay relatively healthy, they can even withstand some injuries, I think they're going to win 50 plus. I really have no idea what to make of the Indiana Pacers this year. I could see Rick Carlisle just kind of scrapping this team to the 6th or 7th seed in the Eastern Conference, but I could also see them just being the 12th seed and really having their eyes set on 2027. But something that I think can happen this year, Johnny Furphy making the slam dunk contest. We all saw that poster he added Summer League over Noah Essengay. He had a really nice dunk the other night against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He also had a great dunk in practice that made its way on Twitter. And I just think Johnny Furphy's athleticism, combined with that the NBA likes to put younger players in the dunk contest now, we could definitely see Furphy in the contest at the Intuit Dome this year. And I just think he could honestly win it. This guy has freak athleticism, 6'8", great wingspan, and I can guarantee he's gonna have a couple highlight dunks throughout the regular season. I hope he's a mainstay in this Pacers rotation in kind of their gap year. I'm predicting Victor Wembanyama here for the San Antonio Spurs to finish top 3 in MVP voting. I don't think that's also like a scorching hot take. Now, Wemby's kind of around like 5th or 6th in MVP odds right now. You're gonna have like your Jokic or Luka, Shea, Giannis, those guys at the top. But if Wemby could just play over 65 games and be eligible for these awards, I can't see how he's not at least in the top 5, and I do think he could be in the top 3 as long as the San Antonio Spurs have a solid record. Now, Luke Cornett might be like the best backup center they've had in quite some time. I'm worried a little bit about the guard injuries to De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper, but if they could be back relatively quickly, Wemby should have a good enough roster around him for this team to win over 45 games in a competitive Western Conference. Wemby could end up on all defensive first team, win defensive player of the year, probably all NBA first team as well, and that's how we can be in that top 3 in MVP voting. Because yeah, maybe the Lakers win 6 more games and like Luka has that on his side, or maybe Giannis and the Bucks win a couple more games, but like what Wemby can have, a defensive player of the year, that is going to bump him up in the MVP voting for sure. Last year, he led the NBA, 3.8 blocks a night before he was out for the rest of the season. He averaged 24 points, and he also knocked down around 3 threes a night. Wemby looks like he got stronger this offseason. He may be more of a downhill attacker this year as well. I hope so. I hope we can see some like traditional big man moves from Wemby this year and not just kind of camping on the 3-point line. Either way, though, that's my prediction. Top 3 MVP finish for Wemby, and then we're going to look in 2027 where he's maybe the favorite going into that year. So with Damian Lillard in the West, Tatum and Halliburton out for the year, there's going to be some new All-Stars in the Eastern Conference this season. So my prediction for the Atlanta Hawks, they're going to get a new All-Star here in Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson was going to be a fringe All-Star last year before he suffered the season-ending shoulder injury. He was averaging 19 points, shooting 50% from the field. One of the best rebounders at his position as well, was averaging 10 rebounds a night, 5 assists. I feel like that kind of went unnoticed. He averaged 1.5 steals, 1 blocks a night. And if he could just be a little bit better with his outside shot, around 31% from 3 last year, Jalen Johnson could definitely average over 20 points per game this year and be very close to Trae Young and kind of like that scoring hierarchy there in Atlanta, given what he could be as a downhill attacker, just somebody physical inside, one of the best transition runners in the league as well. Great athlete at 6'9". That 3-point shot comes around just a little bit. Like I said, he could definitely average over 20 points per game this year, and that's going to be my prediction. I think the Hawks will have a good record near the All-Star break. Therefore, they may end up getting 2 All-Stars. So I think that Jalen Johnson will be able to make it for the first time in his career. We always see a couple first-timers every year. So a lot of my predictions so far have been positive. This one, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I do think that the Memphis Grizzlies are unfortunately going to lose 50 or more games this upcoming season. Now, their over-under right now is around 39, so Vegas is pretty much predicting them to finish around 500. So I'm going the other way a little bit just because I am petrified of this Grizzlies front court. Zach Edey's going to be out for a decent amount of time. Brandon Clark's going to miss the start of the season. Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to miss the start of the season as well. And they're really going to have no rim protection. We're going to see Jock Landale, maybe PJ Hall makes the roster, and they're just going to have nobody anchoring the paint that you can really trust over a 48-minute game. Now, I think John Morant's going to be great this year. I think Ty Jerome is going to fit like a glove there in Memphis. KCP should have a bounce back year. But I also think that this team could sell somewhat at the deadline as well. Keep Triple J, keep the young guys, keep Ja, but sell off some of the veterans because they could end up having 2 top 10 picks with their first rounder and the Phoenix Suns first rounder in the 2026 draft. So yeah, I'm worried about the front court depth and all the injuries, and some of those guys really haven't been the healthiest in their careers. I think it may take some time for Cedric Howard to kind of get acclimated to the NBA level, their lottery pick. So I'm a little bearish right now on the 2026 Grizzlies, but I think they're going to be well suited for the 2027 season. For the Chicago Bulls, my prediction is going to be that they are going to actually trade away Kobe White this year at the deadline. I'm not really looking at too many premier assets at the deadline right now. And yes, Kobe White can be a free agent at the end of the year. He did not agree to a contract extension with the Chicago Bulls before the season started because he can make a lot more money in unrestricted free agency next summer. I think there's a path, though, for Kobe White to be at the top of the trade market, and Chicago can actually get a nice haul to retool this team. Kobe White was a valuable asset to them in his early 20s. He was playing under a great contract. They did a phenomenal job a couple years ago getting him well below market value. He breaks out in the 2024 season. Maybe should have won most improved player. Last year, he was great as well, averaged over 20 points per game. But if the Bulls do realistically make him available, I think a lot of teams could try to trade for Kobe White, who's only making around $12.8 million this season. So it's an easy tradable contract. Chicago's not good. I hope they realize they're not good. And this is still going to be somewhat of a rebuild around Buzelis, around Giddey, around Essengay, their 2026, hopefully lottery pick, and whatever assets they get back from Kobe White. I love watching Kobe White in Chicago, but I think I'd like to see him on a winning team, at least in the 2026 playoffs. Therefore, I do think the Bulls will finally go into the full-on rebuild and trade Kobe White at the deadline. For the Utah Jazz, I am predicting Isaiah Collier to average over 9 assists per game. Now, this one could definitely backfire on me, but last year in 26 minutes, Collier averaged 6.3 assists. Honestly, when you look at like per 75 possessions all time for rookies, he's up there with one of the highest assist totals from a rookie that you can get. Per 36, it would have been around 8.7, and that's with Collier not really being a mainstay in the rotation till later in the year. Colin Sexton is in Charlotte. Jordan Clarkson is in New York. They didn't really add any true point guards this offseason. I still view Keontae George more as an off-ball perimeter guard. They did draft Walter Clayton, but he's also kind of like a score-first guard as well. So the true initiator and playmaker they have on their team right now, Isaiah Collier, I believe he's going to start on opening night. The Jazz probably going to lose a lot of games, and as long as Collier can stay healthy, he's going to play a ton for Utah this season. He's going to get Ace Bailey involved, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, and those guys, and they're going to value having Collier's pass-first mentality in that rotation. He averaged 6.3 assists last year. I think he can get close to 9 this year and get over that hump for the former Trojan guard. Talk about a hodgepodge in the Celtics center rotation. Luka Garza coming over from the Timberwolves, Xavier Tillman, Amari Williams, a second-round pick, Neemias Queta. There's just a bunch of names going over there in Boston. They even signed Chris Boucher late in the offseason, but my prediction, the best big man out of those names that I just mentioned, Neemias Queta. I think the Portuguese center is going to have a very solid year for the Boston Celtics. I don't think they're going to view him as like the long-term starter at the end of the year, but I do think Queta is going to be the most productive center when you're looking at two-way ability. I like Queta's physicality inside. I thought he played well for Team Portugal in the Eurobasket this summer. He plays with a bunch of energy and intensity. Last year, he averaged around 5 points and 4 rebounds for the Celtics in 62 games, but he's going to play the most amount he's ever had in his career. I think he's super fresh, like I said, coming on the momentum of the Eurobasket, where he looked great against some solid competition over there in Europe. I think he's going to be the starting center for the Celtics throughout the whole season, and is somebody that they can have as a nice backup in the long term. So there was not many rookies last year that had a more encouraging first year in the NBA than Kel'el Ware, but there's been a lot of like weird tidbits coming out of Miami Heat's camp surrounded around like what Spoelstra has said about Kel'el Ware. So my prediction for them is Nikola Jovic plays way more in that front court next to Bam Adebayo than Kel'el Ware this year. I'm not sure if I totally agree with that, but I feel like there's some off the court things that Spo really wants to work out with Kel'el Ware. Nikola Jovic has been starting in the preseason for them. They also extended Nikola Jovic on a new 4-year deal this year that's going to be paying him close to that mid-level exception money. 22 years old. They definitely have high hopes for the 2022 first round pick. The thing with Jovic is, though, he's been hurt kind of every single year of his career. Last 2 years, he's played 46 games. So if he could stay healthy, I think he's going to be that stretch 4, switchable power forward next to Bam Adebayo in that starting lineup. Maybe Kel'el Ware does play a ton of backup center this year, and they'll definitely still put him out there with Bam at times, but I do think Miami wants to run this year, and I think Jovic, who's a career 37% three-point shooter, would fit nicely next to Bam, and I think Spo wants to go with that route as well. So I mentioned before that Memphis may have 2 top 10 picks this year because I said the Suns pick is probably going to be in the top 10. That's my other prediction as well. I do think the Suns are going to lose over 50 games this year. Now, this is more in line with their preseason win total projection. It's at 31 wins right now, so they're projected to have around 51 losses. So this one is definitely more of a tame take than what I said about the Memphis Grizzlies earlier, because I am worried about this Phoenix Suns team, especially if Devin Booker went down, because Jalen Green has a huge unknown to him in a new environment, somebody that struggled with his offensive consistency over in Houston for the last 4 years. Now, I think Dillon Brooks is going to feel like a culture changer over there in Phoenix, but they may also be more inclined to trade away Dillon Brooks this year at the trade deadline. Would be one of the more impactful 3-and-D wings that can help out a playoff team, and I think Phoenix would take advantage of that. I think there's a lot of question marks in that center rotation. It has a lot of potential, but Mark Williams has struggled to stay healthy in his career and be a consistent rim protector. Kaman Maluach is still a project in this league and may not even play meaningful minutes till later in the year. They have a lot of kind of power forwards right now that can't shoot, like what's Oso Ighodoro's position. Ryan Dunn is an inconsistent shooter. They're bringing over Nigel Hayes-Davis from overseas. Would they think about trading Royce O'Neal or Grayson Allen this year if there's any type of market for them? They brought in Jared Butler, Jordan Goodwin, kept Colin Gillespie, a lot of guys that play the same position. I just feel like it's going to be tough for Jordan Ott and his rotations this year. I do think Phoenix is going to lose a ton of games in the regular season as well, given that it's a tough Western Conference. They lost Bradley Beal. They lost Kevin Durant. I don't think their roster got that much worse from last year, but last year they went 36-46, and I'm just worried if Devin Booker does miss any bit of time this year, they're going to struggle to pick up the loss in scoring that he provides for them. It was such an encouraging year number 4 for Cade Cunningham. He accomplished more than a lot of people expected going into the year, finished 7th in MVP voting. He was an all-star, all-NBA third-team member and brought the Pistons back to relevancy, where they went 44-38, had a hard-fought Series 1 loss to the New York Knicks, and I do think Cade Cunningham this year can average over 28 points per game. Last year, he averaged around 26 points per game, 47, 35, 84 splits. Now, they're going to get Jaden Ivey back healthy for the start of the year. As of now, they don't have Malik Beasley. Dennis Schroeder is in Sacramento, and they brought in Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert, but I do think that Cade Cunningham has the offensive leap in him as a downhill attacker, 3-point shooter, getting to the free throw line, which he did at a great rate last year, 5.3 free throws attempted per night. I think that's going to go up this year. He may have that superstar whistle now, and I believe that Cade Cunningham can be one of the top scorers in the NBA. He's 24 years old. He's going to be 24 throughout this whole season. 6'6", one of the best athletes in the NBA. So when you're looking at that top 5 scoring leaderboard at the end of the year, don't be surprised if you see Cade Cunningham's name. For the Portland Trailblazers, I'm predicting that Donovan Clingan is going to flirt with an all-defensive team this year. Now, he does need to play over 65 games. Last year, he did play 67 games, but there's always been an injury risk with Donovan Clingan coming out of UConn and what he was in his rookie year. The Portland Trailblazers were miles better defensively when Clingan is on the floor as that rim protector and just overall shot blocker. He's a great post defender as well, and he's going to be the full-time starter this year. At times last year, it was DeAndre Ayton, Rob Williams he was fighting minutes with. He played 67 games, started 37 of them, averaged around 20 minutes per night. I think that's going to go up to 25 minutes a night. He's going to start every single game this year that he is healthy, and like I said, I think he could flirt with an all-defensive team for the Blazers. It may be a weird year for them. I know they had an encouraging second half, but the West is just so loaded. I'm not sure if they got that much better this offseason unless we see internal development from Clingan, from Kamara, Denny, Scoot, and Sharp. But all things considered, I think Clingan is still going to just be a beast defensively. So I mentioned before how I think Wemby is going to finish top 3 in MVP voting. A player that I think is going to join him in the top 5 this year for the first time in his career, Anthony Edwards of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Over the last 2 years, Ant has finished roughly 7th in MVP voting. Last year, he was tied with Cade Cunningham for that 7th spot. I think Ant could win the scoring title this year, and I think that's what can catapult him into the top 5 in MVP voting for the first time in his career. Every single year, he's gone up in his points per game total. 19 as a rookie, 21 points per game in 2022, then the 24, then 25, and then last year averaged 27.6 points per game. I would not be shocked if Cade Cunningham won the scoring title in 2026. It's not like they lost a lot of offense this offseason. Nickeil Alexander-Walker was mainly a defender on this team, but I'm not sure if we're going to see like a Julius Randle or Jaden McDaniels offensive leap this year. Maybe Terrence Shannon Jr. scores a little bit, or Rob Dillingham, but I think Ant has another level to his game. Shams did report this offseason that he was working on his post game, which we have seen in the past, and he hasn't really developed that yet. But if that can come around this year, he's a 3-level scorer at the highest level in this league. He turned into one of the best 3-point shooters in the league last year, knocked down 4 threes a night on 10 attempts. This is somebody that was an inconsistent shooter coming into high school, inconsistent shooter at Georgia. He's one of the best shooting development paths that I've seen in a little bit now, and like I said, I think has another level to go up on his game. I think he's going to possibly win the scoring title this year, or at least flirt with that, and that's going to put him in the top 5 in MVP voting, because I also think that the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to have a respectable record in 2026. For the Golden State Warriors, I don't think Jonathan Kuminga gets traded this year, and I think Golden State may still want to trade him this year when he's eligible in January, February. I just don't think they find a trade suitor. So more of so the prediction could be maybe they don't make out as well as they thought in a Jonathan Kuminga trade at the deadline this year. Kuminga is going to be making roughly $22.5 million in 2026. Now, there are plenty of players out there that they could potentially trade for. We know Phoenix was interested in Kuminga in the offseason. Would we see like a Kuminga for Dillon Brooks swap? Maybe something like that, but there's not that many options out there. Guys could end up getting injured, which could deplete the trade market. What if Kuminga just also isn't great this year, and teams know that he's going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2026? So why give up any type of asset for him when he's maybe a distraught asset at this point, and he's going to be a free agent in a few months? I think that could really hurt Golden State's market. They may lose a ton of leverage in a Kuminga trade as well. So I think he's going to really have to adapt to the Steve Kerr offense. And I think that's what Warriors fans want. They want Kuminga to be here long term. They want him to fit in Kerr's offense both now and in the future. It's just going to be an interesting couple months to start off the year. I don't really want to spoil any of my award predictions, but I'm getting close to thinking that Josh Hart could win Sixth Man of the Year in 2026. And he's not really priced into being one of the top guys that could win the award right now. He's not top 5 in odds to win the Sixth Man of the Year. So I think he's going to at least finish in the top 2 or 3, because I don't think he's going to really start this year. I think that Mike Brown is going to deploy Mitchell Robinson at the start of the year. We can even see Miles McBride if he wants more of a 5 outlook. His Josh Hart last year started 77 out of 77 possible games. He averaged 37.5 minutes a night, which led the NBA. And I think they want to deploy Josh Hart as like a spark plug, energy shifter off the bench, somebody that's going to die for loose balls. He's going to play great in transition. He can just really turn a game around with the energy he can bring with the second unit. And the Knicks also could look for kind of like a playmaker, ball handler on that second unit. They brought in Malcolm Brogdon, but Josh Hart last year averaged 5.9 assists per game. I think he's going to come off the bench this year, and with his numbers, he's still going to play a ton minutes-wise. He's going to really fill up the box score. He can end up winning Sixth Man of the Year in 2026. For the Brooklyn Nets, it's not going to really be a successful season in terms of wins, but I do think one of their rookies is going to have a great year, an all-rookie first-team season, and that's Yegor Dorman. Yegor is most likely going to start for the Brooklyn Nets this year if he is healthy, and he's going to have plenty of guys that want to shoot the ball, which can really bump up his assist total this year. He's a 6'9" point guard, and that was one of the main calling cards for him coming out of BYU, one of the best passers in his class, with kind of like forward-like size in this league. Michael Porter Jr. and Cam Thomas want to take a ton of shots, so he could definitely fill up his assist total in his rookie season. He's going to have a good screen setter and rim runner in Nick Claxton to play off of as well, and he's just going to have the volume and minutes as long as he stays healthy to really just end up on all-rookie first team, and that's my Brooklyn Nets prediction for this season. For the first time in Nikola Jokic's career, he's going to have an all-star with him in the regular season. So my prediction for the Nuggets, Jamal Murray is an all-star in 2026. Last year, Murray had all-star caliber numbers by the end of the year: 21 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 47% from the field, 39% from 3, 88% from the free throw line. But Murray also got off to a slow start last year. He didn't have a great Olympics with Team Canada in 2024 to start off the year. He still had a 57% true shooting percentage, which is fine, but after the All-Star break, that went up to 61%. And I do believe that Cam Johnson next year is going to score a little bit less than what Michael Porter Jr. did last year, which can allow Murray to maybe average close to 23 or so points per game and get him into the All-Star game, so we can finally end that Jokic has never played with an All-Star narrative. I believe in 2026, Adem Bona is going to be the best Embiid backup he has played with in his career. Better than Dwight Howard, better than Paul Reed, better than Mo Bamba, Andre Drummond, you name it. I'm a big fan of Adem Bona. I loved his athleticism and rim running ability coming out of UCLA. I thought he was a sleeper in the 2024 draft. The Sixers took him with the 41st overall pick, and he also just plays with so much energy and intensity, and he's one of the best athletes on the floor that the Sixers can definitely use with their second unit, because Drummond was a fine player in his career, but he doesn't play with as much energy and intensity you would like for somebody that's going to play around 14 or 15 minutes coming off the bench behind Joel Embiid. And Adem Bona could be that guy. He's skillful around the rim. He could block a few shots. He's going to fight over screens. And like I said, I think could be the best backup center in the Joel Embiid Sixers era. And Embiid's played over 10 years in this league. My Dallas Mavericks prediction is going to be Cooper Flagg doesn't make the All-Star game, but he flirts with it in just his rookie season. Cooper Flagg on opening night is going to be 18 years old. He does not turn 19 till December 21st. Like, that is crazy. And I think he's going to be an impactful defender right away. I think Jason Kidd is going to deploy him as a ball handler. Now it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with point of attack defense going up against an Amen Thompson or Lou Dort. How is that handle going to look? But I think Kidd is going to trust the 18-year-old right out of the gate. He's got great big men to throw the ball to, and Anthony Davis and Derek Lively. Those two can also set phenomenal screens, and Daniel Gafford as well for Flagg on the perimeter. Create a mismatch. He can get downhill. I think the three-point shot is going to be solid because he's going to get good looks, because the defense still has to be focused on Klay Thompson in the corner, Anthony Davis down low, even D'Angelo Russell at times on the perimeter. And Flagg's defense, I think, is NBA ready as well. He's one of the best players I've seen come out of college that could be a weak side helper. He's going to come over, use his athleticism, and get that block. And then he can get off in transition as well. I don't think he's going to be an all-star this year, but I think he's going to be in the conversation when we get to December. For the Toronto Raptors, this one isn't really a hot take either, but I just think that Brandon Ingram is going to be flat out the best offensive player for the Raptors in 2026. He looked great in his first preseason game. It was his first NBA game in 10 months. He looked great as a cutter and slasher when RJ Barrett was kind of the primary ball handler. Ingram got to the free throw line a ton. He's got that staple mid-range jumper that he's shown that he could be elite at in his career. He's a solid playmaker as well. The floor spacing is still tough in Toronto with Jakob Poeltl being a non-shooter, Scotty Barnes being inconsistent. RJ can be inconsistent at times as well, but Ingram is going to play a ton of minutes. He's not like the best maybe overall player. You may value Scotty Barnes' defense a little bit more than Brandon Ingram, but I think Toronto is going to be very happy they traded for Brandon Ingram last year at the deadline, because this offense would pretty much be one of the worst units in the Eastern Conference without Brandon Ingram. My prediction for the Milwaukee Bucks, their best point guard at the end of the year, not Kevin Porter Jr., not Cole Anthony. It's going to be Ryan Rollins. Rollins was the 44th overall pick out of Toledo in the 2022 draft to the Atlanta Hawks. Then he gets traded for Tyrese Martin on draft night. Then he's involved a year later in the Chris Paul Jordan Poole trade. He gets waived by Washington of January 2024. And honestly, one of the best recent moves the Milwaukee Bucks front office made was signing him to a two-way in February of 2024. That got converted to a full contract the following year, and Ryan Rollins was very good for the Milwaukee Bucks in 2025. He appeared in 56 games, started 19 of them, averaged 6 points, shot 40% from three. But when you watch Ryan Rollins out there, he's going to be one of the best and maybe the best point of attack defender that Milwaukee can deploy. And if he's just going to be a solid three-point shooter, Milwaukee's definitely going to need him out there with Giannis, Miles Turner. You assume maybe Gary Trent Jr., and then just hopefully not Kyle Kuzma this year. But I really like Ryan Rollins. I think he's had a great rise for somebody that was a second-round pick, smaller school, two-way guy, gets waived, and now he could be like a starter for the Milwaukee Bucks this year, playing with Giannis Antetokounmpo. For the Charlotte Hornets, I'm also predicting Con Knippel to make the all-rookie first team this season. I love Knippel's game, and you guys knew that when you watched my draft content leading up to the 2025 draft. He doesn't have as high of a ceiling as like an Ace Bailey or a Trey Johnson, but he was just a super safe prospect. He looked phenomenal in the summer league. He looked good in his first preseason game. He's going to be willing to be a shooter and not be passive out of the gate. He knows when to make the extra pass, and I just think he's going to be the best three-point shooter from this rookie class in year number one. He's going to have the volume in Charlotte as well. He's going to play a ton this season. It's still going to be an experimental year for the Charlotte Hornets. They want to play their young guys. They really don't have playoff aspirations. Like, that'll be a plus for them, and they're okay with that, but they just need to see the young guys develop this year. Knippel's going to get plenty of run time. The defense still has to focus on Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and LaMelo Ball, and that's going to set some really good looks for Knippel in his rookie year. I think he's going to take advantage of them and make all rookie first team. Now, trying to predict somebody to be healthy is always just kind of stupid. It's tough. It's really just luck of the draw, but I'm doing it with my Pelicans prediction. Zion Williamson is going to be an all-star in 2026. Zion looked great in his first preseason game against Melbourne United, playing over in Australia. He looks noticeably skinny out there. He was flying all up and down the floor in a preseason game in Australia. He looks happy to be out there as well and rejuvenated, playing in New Orleans. Last year, Zion still only played 30 games. He would have been an all-star if those were the first 30 games of the year, but unfortunately, he missed the start of the season, but he's fully healthy, ready to go this year. And if Zion could just play like 25 games by the all-star break, I think the numbers are going to look that good with how dominant he is inside as an offensive player. He'll be an all-star for the third time in his career. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm predicting Jalen Tyson breaks out this year as a defender for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He looked great in their first preseason game defensively against the Chicago Bulls, flying around all over the floor, making chase down blocks. And I think Tyson is somebody that has come up in different situations, environments. He played for Texas, Texas Tech, and Cal in college. He was the 20th overall pick. And I think is realizing I am in a great spot on a fantastic team with a good developmental head coach in Kenny Atkinson. I kind of need to reinvent my game a little bit. I'm not going to be the number one option like I was playing for Cal in 2024. I need to find my role in the NBA, and I think he's really going to step up and replace Isaac Okoro as that 3-and-D wing for the Cavs this year. Max Strus may miss the start of the year. Ty Jerome is in Memphis. Garland may miss the start of the year as well. There might be more minutes for Jalen Tyson to start off year number 2, and I think he's going to take advantage of them and be a really good role player for the Cavs in 2026. For the first time in his career, I believe Alperen Şengün is going to be an All-NBA member in 2026, and I'm predicting All-NBA second team. Maybe nobody has more momentum going into the 2026 season outside of like maybe Shai Gilgeous-Alexander than Alperen Şengün. He was the best player in Eurobasket, which had guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic and Lauri Markkanen playing in it at a very high level. Şengün just looked the part in their first preseason game against the Atlanta Hawks, which is so dominant in his limited playing time. 23 years old. We could be seeing a Jokic level leap from Şengün this year. Not saying he's going to average a 30-point triple-double. He averaged 19, 10, and 5 last year. What if that goes up to like 23, 11, and 6? I think he's going to be more skilled around the rim. The passing is going to get better year over year. They did recently lose Fred VanVleet, so they may need him to step up offensively even more and be closer to a number 2 than we thought to Kevin Durant, and I'm expecting the best year of Şengün's career coming in 2026. For the LA Lakers, I'm expecting them to reshuffle their roster at the trade deadline. I think they're going to be a good team, but not a great team in 2026. You have the LeBron maybe retiring soon factor over their heads. Like, do they want to be aggressive to try to win the finals in 26? Or just look solely in the future post LeBron in the Luka Doncic era. Rui Hachimura is extension eligible. He could be a free agent after next year. Austin Reeves could be a free agent this summer. DeAndre Ayton and Marcus Smart can opt out of their contracts as well. They could look to move a Maxi Kleber, a Jared Vanderbilt, a Gabe Vincent. I'm just expecting moves to be made from the LA Lakers this season. They did make that iconic trade last year, getting Luka Doncic, and I expect them to kind of reshuffle their roster this year to look more in the future around Luka Doncic. As of now, he hasn't gotten extended going into the last year of his rookie deal, but I think Keegan Murray can have a career year. I'm all the way back in on Keegan Murray here in 2026, and I hope that Doug Christie, with his Princeton-style offense, gets Keegan more involved. The field goal attempts peaked in year number 2, 12.7 a night, but went down last year to 10.8 a night. But what I value for Keegan Murray, he's been available. I know he's gone down in kind of his scoring efficiency since his rookie season, but 80 games as a rookie, 77 games in year number 2, 76 games last year, kind of operating as the main point of attack defender and getting the toughest defensive assignment every single night. I hope Doug Christie values that and gets more looks for Keegan Murray, because he's the future of this team. It might not be Zach LaVine. It might not be DeMar DeRozan. They got a point guard now, which they didn't really have last year. After the Fox trade, they pick up Dennis Schroeder, who can get Keegan involved. And I believe in Doug Christie to get Keegan involved, who wants to show that he can have like a Trey Murphy or Jalen Johnson 2025 season next year in the last year of his rookie deal. Speaking of somebody breaking out next year, I think Cason Wallace is going to have like a similar season in 2026 than what Jalen Suggs had in 2024. Now, he's probably not going to score as much because J-Dub, Shea, and Chet are getting the highest offensive workloads on this team. But Cason as a rookie, 6.8 points. Last year, 8.4 points. He's a career 39% three-point shooter who gets phenomenal looks because he's playing with those 3 guys that I just mentioned in that OKC offense. I think he's going to start more games this year. Last year, he started 43 out of 68 games. I could see him starting more here in 2026. Maybe they deploy Alex Caruso off the bench at times or Lou Dort. And I'm expecting a big year 3 for Cason Wallace, and Sam Presti just did it again. again, man. A slight negative prediction here for the Washington Wizards. I'm not really sold on Bilal Coulibaly taking an offensive leap here in year number 3. Bilal was great last year to start off year number 2, but unfortunately tapered off shortly after that. He averaged 18 points in just 4 games to start off October. Then in November, that went down to 10 points, 51% true shooting, 47% true shooting in December, 47% in January. It did go up to 54% in February, but back down to 48% in March. And now we have Trey Johnson in the mix, Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, and Keyshawn George going into year number 2. You brought in Cam Whitmore this offseason. You have CJ McCollum, who's going to get a lot of touches. Chris Middleton as well. I just feel like Coulibaly, who was once like the main piece that you were looking forward to for the Wizards after that 2023 draft, is just falling down the pecking order. He unfortunately didn't play the best for Team France in Eurobasket, got injured as well. Not a lot of momentum on Bilal Coulibaly's side. I still love his defense, and I think he could be a really good stopper in this league, but maybe doesn't have that offensive ceiling or that leap we could have expected in year number 3 just a little bit ago. And for my LA Clippers prediction to wrap this off, I think Ivica Zubac could finish top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year voting. So obviously I'm going to think Wemby is going to win DPOY this year. Evan Mobley could still be at the top of those conversations. Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, Chet Holmgren, plenty of other guys that are going to rival Zubac. But Zubac last year broke out as a defender for the LA Clippers. He finished 6th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. He finished on the 2nd all-defensive team. He played 80 games. He's pretty much been available every year in the 2020s for the Clippers, and that is a huge benefit for centers who are prone to injuries, where he can hit 65 game threshold more likely than some other big men can, and I think he's going to have a more impactful defensive season. The Clippers are playing in a lot of primetime games. They have a lot of old players on their roster too, but Zubac, one of the guys under 30 years old that can still be an immediate impact player every single night, and I think he's going to have an even better defensive season than he did last year and finish top 3 in DPOY voting. So that is going to be for me. Hope you guys did enjoy. One prediction for every NBA team in 2026. If you agree or disagree with any of my predictions, let me know down below. Make sure you're subscribed. We're going to do a preseason overreaction video next this week. Got some exciting news coming out on the channel in a few weeks as well, so make sure you're stay tuned for that, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.